IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You know who it is. Sir Charles.
Razor.
In the booth, in the building. One more again, Razor, on this good Sunday. How you doing this Sunday morning?
I feel good, man. This is my favorite time of the year.
I mean, can we still say Sunday morning? Should I be saying afternoon? I don't even know.
I don't know. Depending on who you're talking to.
Depending on who you're talking to. I mean, technically it's afternoon.
Yeah.
But you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we for sure appreciate it.
Yes, Lord.
I am HO Talk Show. Tell a friend. So they know, because they don't want to miss today, Razor. As always, we're gonna entertain as we try.
Yeah. We tried. No, we tried year 1 through 5. We got this thing down pat, man.
I feel you. I can appreciate it. I can appreciate that, man. So today we're gonna, close the show off. In true style, I'm a Quentin Tarantino. That thing I'm gonna start from the end.
Okay. Yeah. Backdraft that jump.
Yeah. So we're gonna close out the show today with none other than the good brother, good homeboy, Jamar Pierre-Louis, Prospect P.
Yes,
y'all may know him as Dream Clothing.
Yeah.
Mr. Toy Drive, Mr. Sneaker Ball.
Love it.
So much the brother got going on. So we happy to have him in studio in the booth with us today.
Yeah.
Middle hour, we're going to be joined by our good brother and friend, Nicholas Wright, Wright Group Counseling.
Yeah.
Go talk a little mental health, man, because it's kind of needed right now.
Yeah.
I guess mental health is always needed, but right about now,
a little tougher.
Yeah, getting as many tips and things as we can get, the better. But this first hour, man, we're gonna come out the gate swinging, man, because if people want to hear our take, we were off the Sunday immediately after election.
Yeah.
So we kind of gave our our predisposition.
Yeah.
But they ain't heard us since,
which is good.
Election.
Yeah.
So and then there's some local headlines and stuff that's been going on as well, man. But we just got to hit the things that the people want us to talk about.
Today is the testosterone show. Like it's all dudes today, ain't it?
It must be, because like Queen Max is occupied, and so
she handling business.
She gave the keys to the inmates.
Yes, indeed.
I don't know if it was a good idea.
And we start by flooding the toilets.
Yes, indeed, man. But I'm looking forward to it, man. But we're gonna take a break and then we're gonna jump back into this thing, hit some headlines, Razor. But while we got the people's attention, man. So Fifeville Neighborhood Association has been doing quite a bit. They have the Buy Back the Block initiative going on where they're working with community partners, and that title is so. First, let me ask you this.
Let's go.
When you hear Buy Back the Block,
and
it's not even what we're talking about right now, but I just want your opinion. When you hear that term,
what
does that make you think?
For me, it was always dirty money turning clean to better your community. Right.
Okay.
I come from that generation.
Okay.
So when I hear it now being used, I understand its significance, but I'm always leery that, okay, the ones that have always stole from us and blocked us,
right,
will look to say, okay, this is a Black initiative. And I think that sometimes we're so focused on making sure that we bring together our own people for collective good, that we also give the warning signal. Hey, they over there doing something, boss. You know what I'm saying? So
let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
So if
now I love what we're doing. Let me make sure everybody understand that. I love what we're doing. I just think that the art of war is a real thing.
Yeah. So if unpaid reparations and stolen land and stolen wealth, aka UVA, aka Old Charlottesville money, if that's used to buy back the block, would you still consider that dirty money because of the way that it was?
Absolutely.
Okay. I just want to make sure you understand.
Behind every fortune is a crime.
But in saying that, it is, like to the street reference.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the knowledge of, if we come up out of that or we make money by any means necessary.
Yeah, by hook or by crook.
At some point, you got to run it through the cleaners.
Yeah.
At some point, and what better way than to start
through land and whatnot.
Investing. There you go. But I just want to kick that off because that thing is still going on. That initiative, they're still looking for members and stuff to help with this initiative, and it means many things. So y'all reach out.
Charles, let's stop right there before we take the break. I need you on this one, right?
Okay.
Why is it that when we try to involve our community, not what's known as the elitists, but we try to involve the community, whether it be PCOB, whether it be buying back the block, all this type of things, why is it so difficult for us to show up in groves to say, count me in?
Because we're jaded. Because you only gonna piss on my head and say it's raining but so many times.
Yeah. But what about when it's us saying, look, man, let's come together. Let's do this thing.
Same thing.
Why don't we collectively come together?
Yeah, like I like to have the faith and belief that we're getting better with that. But I think you know as well as I do, though, that like we've been conditioned not to trust each other.
Yeah.
And like I was reminded of a Malcolm X quote just the other day. Like when he was talking about like being weary of the Black middle class. And he also was talking about when the FBI tried to make him an informant.
Yeah.
And like those tapes got released.
Yeah.
And they were unsuccessful.
Yeah.
And so I think those are the two things that we're dealing with. The whole we've been conditioned not to trust each other. And then sometimes when we do trust each other, we have, for lack of better terms, informants.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They stay there. And you were reminded with Malcolm X. I was reminded when Vice President Harris tried to go for president.
And we're going to get into that. Hold your horses.
He drank that water like it was a shot of Henny.
Hey, communion on this Sunday. Hey, man, but before we go to break, the reason that was a long roundabout.
Yeah.
To remind the folks, because my good friend, good sister, speaking of the community, a legend, a cornerstone, a pillar of the Fifeville neighborhood, Miss Dorinda Johnson. I was already going to mention it, but thank you, Miss Dorinda, as well, for reminding her brother, because we appreciate you. But the premiere of the Abundant Life Ministries documentary.
Okay.
So a lot of people know about Abundant Life. That does a lot of mentoring, teaching, help, community resource. I mean, like the list goes on and on.
Right.
Like when they say Abundant Life, it is just that. It is an abundance of resource for not only Prospect Ave, but Fifeville neighborhood and the community as a whole. But make sure y'all remember this Friday, November 22nd, it's a free showing of the Abundant Life Ministries documentary. Doors open at 6:30. Introduction to the film is at 6:45. The film screening is at 7. And this is at the Code Building in the Irving Theater. So the Code Building is on downtown mall, y'all, right there where Annex used to be.
Yes.
Where Skate Park used to be.
With the funny looking steps, y'all.
Yeah. Nice building. So the Abundant Life Ministries documentary is going to be telling, their story and telling a very important story of the neighborhood and celebrating folks in the neighborhood, celebrating the work, man. Because for so many times, so many years, like I know you didn't grow up in the city, but I'm sure you heard for so many times, and in so many instances, our people, our neighborhoods, like when you hear Prospect, that's all they got to say, Prospect.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a certain like delineation and like a certain stigma attached to when you hear prospect.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So I'm one, and this is why we got this radio show. We love celebrating our people.
That's
we
right.
love keeping the balanced stories told. We love showing the good and the bright side of what we do.
Yeah,
and the fact of the matter is, man, a lot of good work is going on over there through Abundant Life and good folks in the community, man. So want to make sure y'all know and support if you can. This Friday, November 22nd, at the Cole Building, Irving Theater, the Abundant Life Ministries documentary. So shouts out to them, man.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us about that.
Yes, indeed, man. So we say we get to break, we come back with these headlines.
I can't wait.
Local as well as election. And want y'all to know, like, this ain't just vain election talk. Y'all should know us by now. We're gonna edutain and we're gonna talk about going forward. That's why we got our man talking about how we equip and prepare ourselves mentally and emotionally and spiritually with Nick Wright from Wright Group Counseling. And then we also gonna have a brother with boots on the ground and Jamar coming and talking about the great initiatives, because we're gonna keep it going. Like, now ain't the time to stop the work. Now's the time to put that work in overdrive.
Yes, indeed. Especially if you're afraid.
Lord have mercy. IMHO Talk Show.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous. And you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
I to the ism, H to the ism. What say you, Razor, on this good Sunday?
I was listening to the background.
I'm gonna take my time with it.
Yeah, I see you. That joke said I can make your booty pop.
With all due respect.
With all due respect on this Sunday morning. Yes, Lord.
Let's behave, man. People getting out of church, turning the radio on.
Indeed.
Oh,
yep. They expect me to talk crazy. It's a shame.
goodness.
I'm like Jimmy Walker. He gonna always be JJ. I'm always have to talk crazy.
Big facts, man. So where do we begin? Where do we
Politics,
begin?
presidents.
And here's the thing, man, good people. It's not just where we begin, but it's where do we go?
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Based on where we want to end up.
Yeah.
Right? Let the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
Right?
So where we going?
Man, so I mean, first things first, like how you doing, man? Like how you feeling? Brother to brother. Let's act like the mic's not even on.
The mic's not even on here.
Let's act like we don't average, like a couple thousand listeners.
Got you.
Like let's just act like it's just you and I sitting in the barber shop.
Okay.
Like old time.
All right. Let me get fired out.
Like matter of fact, 8 years ago,
Yep.
when something similar happened, we were sitting in the barber shop.
Yep, we was
so
in the
let's
barber
take them
shop.
back.
Okay. All right. Now, how am I doing? I'm honestly in a good place, but a place that has to be intentional, right?
Mm-hmm.
At this junction of my entrepreneurial career,
Mm-hmm.
my father career, my like business career, everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to be intentional because now it's not that the pressure wasn't always there, but now I accept it. Like I have to be a certain level of man, period.
Okay.
Like I don't have a choice, so that responsibility for me is different now. So I care about how my community looks at me. I care about how my kids look at me. You know what I'm saying? I care if somebody has a certain feeling towards me. Is it justified? I'm at that point. Now, I'm not saying, oh man, you got to not care about or care about what people say. But for me in my house, I'm intentional. Right. I'm intentional about where I'm at right now. Like there's some people that I have to let go. There's some people that I have to say, look, you've been trying to attach to me. I didn't trust you. It was because I didn't understand you. But you know what? I need what you offer to get me to the next level and be transparent with those things. So that's where I'm at.
That's where you at with it.
Yeah. What about you? How you doing, my good man?
I'm quite upset, man.
Okay. Talk to me.
I'm quite upset. And maybe if we can get it queued up, the brother Torre had a very compelling statement, very compelling video. And the thing is he said how he cannot separate his life from politics. He said, good for you if you are able to be privileged with the life to where your real life, your life decisions and your voting choices are separate.
Mine are.
And but I feel what he was saying, and it's something that I struggle with, and I tried to be optimistic beforehand.
Okay.
Partially because of this job that I have to do.
Yeah.
But like you said as well, just being a man and knowing being a man means like the boots gonna hit the ground regardless.
Yeah.
I'm gonna protect and feed mine regardless.
Yeah.
Right.
Regardless of who's in office.
Yeah. So saying that, but still at the same time, knowing in my mind, and like they say, politics, religion, and sexual orientation, all that stuff should be personal decisions. But I had a lot of strong feelings, and I tried to just educate and let folks make their own decision. But the thing is, man, like I'm quite upset because I do in fact believe that there are things that are just so detrimental that if they come to fruition and by the president-elect's first steps, it looks like he has full intent. It looks like he has the gangbusters aligned. It looks like regulators are mounting up.
Yeah.
And like that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
And I tell a lot of people also, I'm like, man, if I really think about it, and if I play my position like white supremacy wants me to, I'd be all right.
Yeah.
But that's not how I vote. I vote for the whole. And I know I have brothers and sisters that on the baseline ain't gonna be all right. Like, and it also hurts to talk to some folks and I see them struggling and I see the resource that they need. And I'm like, but you voting for somebody that's going to take away those public resources?
Yeah.
Make it make sense to me.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and so
are you upset or are you disappointed?
It's all of the above.
Okay.
It's all of the above. But am I surprised? No,
can't be.
Not surprised, man, because I think America is just the system is working like it's supposed to.
I think
the system is working effectively.
If we look at it like this, Charles, just like, man, this does feel like the barbershop. But if we look at this like, okay, vote according to who you would like to see in there, but don't live to where their decisions impact you directly. I don't think we'll be as stressed when things don't turn out the way that we would have hoped, you know? So it doesn't really matter to me who's in office. I'm going to be me, right?
Yeah.
Not me according to who's telling me or who I'm looking at inside the White House. That's just, ever since I've gotten my voting rights back, that's the way that I vote. You know, I live my life. What do I want to do? What do I need to do? Right? What insulates me from, you know, going back and forth like a blade of grass in the wind? And that's where I feel a lot of our people found comfort in is, okay, if I can get certain services, I don't have to do beyond this, and I'm getting it for free, which you ultimately have to understand. What if somebody pulls the chair from underneath you? What is your plan B, C, and D? Doesn't mean you have to use them, but you need to have them in place. So when I'm not as compassionate as you when it comes to looking at what might happen, because all of us have the same 24 hours. All of us look at what could possibly become the case. And if you decided not to do anything and hope for the best, then you put yourself at risk. And I don't believe in living like that.
Now, normally I would agree with you, but I feel like wholeheartedly that this time is different, because I feel like that when we look at the Republicans of a John McCain, even a George W., I feel like that there was wiggle room, but I feel like the agenda, the Project 2025, the overt racism and like white supremacists and like neo-Nazi stuff that we're facing now, I don't feel like it's that simple. So I feel like that it was that against sticking with status quo, because trust me, and that's one of the reasons why I wasn't even more vocal about Kamala, even though I was unapologetically supporting her and you know, and endorsing that. But it's just because I know the game. And my thing is to my brothers and sisters who were wavering, and I'm talking about like my Latino brothers and sisters too. Hell, I'm even talking about white women too. For those who were wavering on who to vote for, to me, like I said, you're up against all that other stuff of this neo-Nazi Republican regime compared to staying status quo. And to your point, I don't agree with us blaming the Democratic Party for us using those resources as crutches. I think that if we as a people are overly dependent on government, that's our fault. And I feel like we need to work better and harder as a community.
I'm with you on that.
So I don't think that we should rid ourselves of public necessities.
No, I'm not saying that. I did, I apologize. I didn't mean rid ourselves of them.
Yeah, but we shouldn't be dependent on them, and that shouldn't be what our life is. I get you there. We should still, you know, work and like always aim for a better life and stability of our families and our businesses and our communities. I get that, but I don't agree with the narrative, because even if you're not saying it, I've heard it said to me of that I can't vote for Democrat because they just use black people. I'm like, okay, so you're going to vote for overt racist, bigot, sexist? Like, you think that's better? I'm not, you know, that's the part I don't get.
It's if we go back, and I was having this conversation, for those of you who can remember what it was like when middle-aged, older white men controlled everything, and they would find the black guy who was the gatekeeper for the community. So they're going to give the money to one black guy. He's going to disperse, like say I do concrete. So then I'm going to get the main jobs, and then I'm going to put other people in business, and I'm going to have people working for me. And then I'm going to grab another black guy. He does the brick work. And I'm going to have another black guy. He's going to do the electrical work. Right. If you remember what it was like back then, that's how you need, in my humble opinion, that's how you need to prepare yourself, because what they were trying to I think what they were trying to keep from happening is for them becoming into the same situation as black people are in, because you have so many different races in America now. It's not just black and white. So they saw themselves diffusing.
Absolutely.
They have daughters. Daughters have babies by people of different nationalities. Now the grandkids are no longer pure white people, right? So they see their legacies getting dispersed. So this is their attempt to get back in charge. They have the house, they have everything, right? So literally, you have to, there's no need in complaining about what they have and what might happen. You need to be like a fielder in baseball. Be down, be ready. Is it a pop fly? Is it deep? Is it whatever?
Yeah,
you gotta play baseball, man. You got this ain't chess.
Play the game.
This ain't chess, because they have it set to where you can't really make aggressive moves. You have to play outfielder in the baseball.
And not only that, like not only the legacy, but it's also, because you're absolutely right, but it's also to maintain the white supremacist hierarchy. I feel like that's the
same
reason.
Thing.
But I'm just saying, like it's not just them worried about the past being erased through certain books that we read, or you know, that kind of thing. But it's also about keeping the reins. But it's not just them. If we're honest about it, there was a lot of women and people of color who are more comfortable with that status quo. While they said they didn't want the status quo of big government, as they say, or the Democratic Party, they are cool with the status quo of the white man being in charge.
Absolutely.
Let's be 100 about it. And like change is just too scary to them, because the fact of the matter is a lot of times you got to destroy to rebuild. And so when people look at things like the outliers of, people feel like that there's too much sexual immorality. People feel like that it's just like too much things that's not the model morale that they feel like that was acceptable.
They don't like the alphabet. They don't like the alphabet community.
All that kind of stuff. So so to them, so to them, I think a lot of people are voting against those emotional things. Instead of going in and saying, okay, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be tweaked. It's so scary on how fast change is happening, and the fact that, God forbid, people of color got some power and some wealth and got decision making. Like all that stuff is so scary to some people, to where they just rather just vote against it and not even realize they're voting against their own interests.
But you also got to look at, and this isn't going to be popular at all, and ladies, I love you, but I got to say it, there are a lot of black men that did not want to take orders from a black lady.
That's fact. That's facts.
And I believe too that white people know that they can kind of control a black man more than they can a black female. You know, she is stronger than us, like honestly.
And how sad is that though? You know what I mean? Because you're not speaking for us when you say that, but there are brothers out there like that. And like, how sad is that? But are we surprised?
No.
Because in reality, based on the history of this country, based on the actions, that would have totally turned the pecking order on its head.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because things would have changed.
Because by the social hierarchy that we still find ourselves operating in. And by the way, I said before, that it pains me that I gotta teach my kids about the reality of life. Because you want your kids to maintain happiness and feel like that
their innocence.
You want to maintain their innocence and make them believe that their hard work and their effort is all it takes. But people who live real life know that there's puppet masters and know that there's games that get played on every level. And so you need to equip them. You can't send your kids out into the world unprepared. But it pains me to say that. But to this election point, the hierarchy would say that a white woman would need to be elected before a black woman would be. I don't think it should be that way. But again, I'm not surprised.
Absolutely. Now, my last thing to say on that, Charles, is that I genuinely feel even the black women that were against her, if she had got in, they would have fell right in order. If that young lady had to become president, the world would have changed. You know what I'm saying? Because the collectiveness of women of color would have came together. It wasn't just black women. It would have been women of color, right? So then at that point, everybody has a mother. You know what I'm saying? Even if she's not in your life, everybody has a woman in your life that you care about and you protect. So if they had to rally together and say, look, this is collectively what we're going to do, how we're going to grow, how we're going to get things back in line, not even white men in their hierarchy could have stopped that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I generally believe that, man. Like
for sure.
The world would have rallied behind her and everybody else. So
yeah. And another thing that's worth saying as well is that, like, I want everybody to educate themselves on the difference between inflation and corporate greed, because I think that was another misinformed piece that swayed votes, which is like, as we could even look back to the Affordable Health Care Act, and when they wanted to vilify, when the powers that be wanted to vilify, they called it Obamacare, made it this bad thing, so that the corporations, being health systems, insurance companies, could then raise their prices, overcharge people, and then be like, see, it was Obama's fault. And that's what's happening now. And the fact is that whoever's buddy the most with the corporations is going to control the prices.
Right.
Like let's just be 100 about it. Like the corporations that's $1 billion companies, even $1 trillion companies, they don't have to raise their prices.
No.
But they do it because they can.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we just got to educate ourselves on when inflation is really happening and when it's just corporate greed.
Yeah. I don't even know how inflation really happens, to be honest with you, because the same tree that built my grandparents' house is the same tree that you used to build my house. So why was a 2x4 13 cents?
Yeah.
If you decide to manufacture a different way of mass producing this thing, right? It shouldn't be to where you have to pass that on. Like, I'm gonna create something that's gonna make everything rougher for somebody else so I can make some money, right? But I'm gonna go and make laws to where the average person can't play this game. You know?
Yeah.
So I know you say educate yourself, but I don't think that the education is out there on the things that they truly control.
Oh, big facts. Yeah, we got to dig for it, because I mean, by just at raw definition of it, the inflation should only be that when the cost to produce it, like, is now too large for you to be able to make a profit at your current price.
Right.
And the fact is, they're making the profit.
Right.
Like, they're just choosing not to take a loss on any line item.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
But man, like, let me point this out though, because again, like that, it just kind of blows my mind, man, that how so much misinformation has swayed things. And again, if we were playing fair, if we were talking about, apples and apples, not apples and oranges, then I would say that it doesn't make a difference.
Right.
But I think having big government, a status quo government, having a government that provides crutches, whatever people want to say, again, it falls on us as a people, as our individuals, and our families, and our communities, and then even in our congregations, to make those changes. That's not government's job. So the government that we as a country have chosen, if they follow through with a lot of what the cabinet is already formulating, supports the Project 2025 agenda, then we are in trouble. But those of us that's doing great work got to come together, now more than ever. And I can't, help but to think times like this always reminds me of whether we look at Frederick Douglass or Marcus Garvey or Malcolm X, Huey Newton, on down through the years. Every great prophet and leader that we've had have always said, we got to come together. We got to work together. But somehow we keep letting, informants and infiltrators deter us.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, because we let that in because we're not proactive in standing next to each other. We'd rather stand at a point where we can view each other. Because when you're standing next to each other, I'm focused on the goal. I'm not focused on you. But when I'm standing back and watching, I'm focused on you, and I can't see the danger that's coming.
Yeah.
And that's what we have accepted as our reality.
Yeah. You know what, man? Shouts out to the DMV, though. Let's give it up for the DMV. The DMV went blue.
Okay, I'm
going to give it up for the DMV.
Yeah, we did our job.
Yeah, DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
We did our job.
Came through. So in saying that, though, I will say a bright side within that is that Virginia has Tim Kaine as a senator still. There's still like a lot of delegates in the House, that can still be the voice of communities and of people. Like, so from that regard, feel kind of good about that part.
Yeah.
But
is it enough?
I mean, it's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
Still a long way to go. But before we just close this segment, though, I wanted to touch on some points, because here's the fact of the matter of what's been said and touted. I don't know how people who voted for Trump missed it. And I'm talking about the people who will be directly impacted. The fact that he has said that, and again, we're saying this not to complain, we're saying this to inform and then equip our minds, right? And then hopefully when we see our brothers and sisters coming together and working together and helping the community, hopefully we will support that, right? Like this, y'all should know this show well enough by now that we just don't get on here and just complain and gossip.
Ain't no need.
Like, we bring the resources and the information. So follow IMHO Talk Show, because we're gonna be sharing all the good stuff that y'all may send us. But man, it's like when we think about things about like giving police free reign, like not criminalizing police. And things like that. Like when we talk about,
that's rough right there.
Yeah. So then we already talked about like pulling certain like government funding services and stuff. So we see it all the time. What happens? And like, this is Reaganomics at its best. This is what most Republicans nowadays say that they like, the Reaganomics. And what happens? Crime goes through the roof. Yeah. Why does crime go through the roof? Because when police have free reign, and when communities don't have any support, what you gonna do? You turn to crime. Yeah. And then if you're not penalizing police, what else is gonna happen? Incarceration is gonna skyrocket.
People gonna start getting whipped again.
They already talked about, and this is stuff Trump is saying. Like, I'm not making this up. I'm not assuming. Like, he's talking about stop and frisk is okay. So police profiling is gonna be okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, these are things where when I talk to some of my brothers, I'm like, you realize what you thinking about voting for, right? like this ain't just your eggs and your milk being cheaper, bro. Yeah. It's like this. It's way more serious.
But when you can't see the forest for the trees, you think it is about eggs and milk.
Yeah. And then we talk about the Department of Education being demolished, which means that we go back to a time prior where, remember, you only could read if you were privileged.
Right.
Public education was started for the simple fact of everybody deserved the education.
Right.
So we're going back to a time where if you white and privileged, then you have, and here's the thing, I get some people gonna be like, well, you can be rich and not be white nowadays. True that. So yeah, but still the fact is, if you can afford a good education, you're gonna get it.
Right.
But if they have their way and you can't afford it, then what you gonna do?
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we talk about the women's rights stuff all the time. That's that's now at stake. So brothers as well. And I got so many calls and texts, man, from brothers talking about, man, we need to be lifting up our sisters and letting our sisters know that we got their back.
Yeah.
This ain't the time for the foolishness, because a lot of them are scared, like straight scared.
No.
For multiple reasons, because they don't feel protected.
Yeah.
Don't feel protected
that's right.
from top to bottom.
So I had that conversation and I was telling someone that, look, you'll thrive. You just have to pay attention, let go of the fear and see what they are willing to give, because they're going to choose somebody to be able to bless so that they can tear down the other part of your community. That's going to be the black man, right? So brothers who have been, you've professionalized street living, you got to give it up, man. You got to give it up or go to prison. And you already know with these court-appointed attorneys, you don't have an advocate. You got representation. That is not the same thing. Right? Having somebody stand next to you saying, okay, this is who he is, and they give you your time is different than somebody going there fighting for you. Now, if you can't afford a good lawyer, you need to stop doing the crime. Period, point blank. And women, it will be okay to accept what the government is going to give to you to better your life, okay? That does not mean you have to look down on your black male because he doesn't have. I understand that. You go to school to be independent and get all these good things, right? But the way the system is going to be going, find you a man that can hold the house down for you, that helps take care of kids. He's a good person. He might have gotten in trouble at 18, at 34, he's a better person. Like, these are real conversations that your mama and your auntie need to be having with you, but Razor's going to do it for you. Guys, look, man, don't complain. Don't huddle together around a bottle of liquor, smoke in the air. This ain't the time for that, man. You already are getting left behind because there are so many nationalities that you're competing with for the same low-level fruit.
And
Now,
we're caught in a circle.
and we're caught in a circle.
It's a cycle
Yeah.
that, goes back to the Willie Lynch documents on how to break a slave.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, we're just in that cycle even today, even if we don't even realize it, because the whole thing about some of the men not wanting to take orders from a lady or have a lady as the highest, position and commander in chief and all that, like that's all from, stems from negativity and confusion, right?
Yeah.
That's like that's not how things should be. And I talk about accountability a lot. And when I hear you saying when we got to do better at, we can't then play victim. It's like we can't not handle business.
Yeah.
And then when she handled business, we mad at her for handling business.
Yeah. Nah,
what I mean?
You're right. We can't do that. Also, Charles, unfortunately, and this just raises interpretation. Do not hold the show accountable, Charles, or anybody else. I feel like women have broken more men than slavery ever could.
I can't ride with you there.
No,
go ahead.
let me finish, right? When the system was created to, like the Willie Lynch, chastise the best of them and make the women scared and protect the kids, right? So then when the heads of the household, which I feel is women, even when there's men in the household, decide that this is what needs to be done, those boys that you love so much, women, a lot of those young men are carrying animosity because while you are protecting them on one end, they see what you're doing to the older version of them. They see how you talk about them. They see how, whatever it is, right? They see how you bring other men into your life and you want that man to be the daddy over you right now. So when he grows up, he treats his girlfriends like S because really he don't like you. He love you, but he don't like you. Now that isn't just black kids. I was a coach for a long time. A lot of the problems that young boys had was they love their mothers more than they love their fathers. So when they feel like mom has let them down, they hold that inside and it comes out in rage. It comes out destruction, comes out school skipping. It comes out all different types of ways, right? But it's difficult for coaches and men on the outside to look at you and say, look, that baby boy that you love so well is having a lot of problems because of the way that you're choosing the best future that you see for him.
And that definitely happens sometimes, but I'm going to
just some, I'm not saying every case is like that, but I have a lot of cases that boys have, they're harboring the way that they treat women bad and stuff like that is coming from how they truly feel about their moms.
No, I feel
that's all.
Yeah, and that definitely needs to be checked undoubtedly because it definitely happens. But at the same time, same token, I see that happening a lot of times because we as men have failed. And then if she sees her mama and her grandmama handling it and daddy wasn't around, then of course she's gonna have that attitude.
But think about it. But think about this, Charles, just to give it another way to look at it. The men that didn't handle business were also the young boy who was hurting.
Not all the time, dude, because people forget that we ain't that far removed from segregation. So
we far enough away. We far enough away. Like, I understand.
Like 3 generations away. Like, so what I'm saying,
how long does it take? That's 30. What each generation? So 50 years.
Here's what I'm saying though. That just means that that was just great granddaddy. So we talking about great granddaddy. Could have been a hell of a man. But still could have been getting his butt kicked up and down that dirt road. Right. And then took that out on his family, and then that could have been where it started. Every situation is different.
Every situation.
But what I'm saying is, like, we make the mistake too many times as a country and as a society and act like we just so far removed from like discrimination and being indentured servants. Dude, my grandmother, like my grandmother, like I grew up with her. Was literally working on somebody's farm for next to pennies.
My grandmother too.
Like we ain't that far removed. But my whole point though is that we are still so young as a country. And so we still have so much to learn. And for us to act like that racism doesn't still exist, or that the laws and the rules and the mindsets of people who enslaved us doesn't still exist, it's like we dead wrong with that. But they've just tricked us to now take it out on each other.
I understand that, Charles, but that's also like saying when somebody gets released from prison, that everything that they do wrong, you're supposed to say, oh, he's an ex-con, or he got in trouble, he was incarcerated, so he's supposed to act like that. So if we expect better out of somebody that does that within months or years, Why can't we say, okay, yes, we went through some horrific things, but are you going to live there?
I'm with you, bro.
You know
That's
what I'm saying? And
be.
that's just where I'm at. Like, I understand our point that we make about what has gotten us to this point. But there comes a time when you just have to say, look, I refuse to be my circumstances.
I feel you.
You know?
Hey, so but before we gotta wrap this up though, I gotta kind of want your opinion, but like we gotta have one of our Latinx brothers or sisters up here. But like what could that man have done better for you to just a few years ago see your family separated at the borders, or if you cross, to see your kids put in cages and not have any idea where your other family members are, and for him to say, I am going to deport most of you, and you still vote for him?
So you don't have to ask
What is
Latin
that
people.
mindset?
You just got to ask older black men. Older black men did it first.
Big fact.
They sold out the black community first. The gatekeepers, the ones that y'all go around here and write documentaries and everything because they got houses and land and whatnot. I'm sorry. Uncle Jiffy sold out the community, right? Now, he may have given a couple dollars to the woman that come by that needs school clothes, and he might donate a couple dollars here, right? But he sold the community out for a better day. Now, it's almost like the people that when they say black people own slaves to protect them, some of it is that like they're gonna gatekeep somebody, so I'm going to be that person that disperses.
Because we always think that we're the exception. Like we think I'm better than them,
right?
So they're going to get deported. But the crazy issue is there was a woman who voted for him and then found out that her husband was getting deported, and she was torn to pieces.
Yeah, but that happened in the black community too, though.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
So when are we gonna learn?
We voted against the war on drugs.
Gonna learn,
right? But then we had mass incarceration.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was.
So are we forgetting our history? So that's why we repeat it? Is that what's happening?
Well,
somebody got to tell me.
They call Spanish people the new ends at time, right? So really, we were the blueprint for them because now that they have dissipated us to a point that it's really no point to just keep standing on us and beating on us. They got a new person that has stepped up that they can in turn do the cycle all over again. So now the guys that are Spanish that did vote for them, that are looking for a better day, that I got my papers and these people are criminal. Like I was listening to things, they were talking about other Spanish people like they weren't Spanish too. But it's the same thing that I watched black people do to black people before. It's no different.
Hey, I feel you. But hey, we just wanted to just put it out there.
Yeah, that's it.
And we ain't gonna leave it there though. Like we said, there's gonna be more discussion. Y'all join in. Anybody with resources, tag us. IMHO Talk Show.
Absolutely.
We definitely gonna hype it up. So y'all follow the pages and all that good stuff so we can keep us informed. And like we said, man, next hour we're gonna take this break. Next hour to help us cope with it and deal with it. As we figuring this thing out and as we again continuing the good work, moving forward, hopefully better than ever. We're gonna have Dr. Nick Wright from Wright Group Counseling. He's gonna come in and we're gonna do a little therapy, have a little therapy session, a little counseling. Yeah. So y'all tell a friend. Stay tuned. You got Sir Charles and Razor, IMHO Talk Show.
Let's go.
You know what it is. Stay tuned, y'all.
Mic check. Mic check. All right.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
Mic check, mic check.
In my heart, baby, you make a mess of me. Problematic.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Sir Charles.
Razor.
IMHO Talk Show. In the booth, in the building, back like we never left.
Yeah.
You know what it is. Man. And so we told
y'all.
That was
a good conversation, y'all.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, brother.
Conversation.
If we say so ourselves.
And we do.
With the studio audience. They like it too.
Yeah. And we do.
And it's as we said, we like to edutainment. IMHO Talk Show. We all and it's more than just talk. And that's why we told you at the beginning we were going to have a brother coming on to help us learn how to cope with these things and self-care, care for each other. And then we're going to end the show with a brother that's out here doing a lot of good work so we can remember we still got things to do.
That's right.
You got to keep your hand to the plow.
Communities are better when men come together.
That's right. Be careful now, because like Ted's got something close to that.
Yeah,
we don't want to get them things mixed up.
Community work is the best work.
Ted's thunder. Now.
I ain't say I was there when that was created too, though. So so my brother can't say nothing to me. Yeah.
Well, shouts out to Ted's, another good brother doing great work.
My man.
But it's been a minute since we had this last guest on with us, y'all. But he is no longer a guest. He is family. Hopefully, he still feel like family.
Yeah.
Even though we don't see the good brother as much as we used to. And brother Nick, I think your mic is still muted. Make sure we can hear you.
Yeah, mic check. Can you hear me?
The good brother, the good counselor, the good therapist, Nicholas Wright of Wright Group Counseling. How are you this Sunday, sir?
Man, doing well. Even better to be hanging out with you two today.
Hey, what's up, champ?
Appreciate you.
Just working hard. I appreciate you all having me.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yes, indeed. So Nick, man, I guess let's do this thing correct though. Like I said, WGC. Just go ahead and let folks know. Reintroduce yourself to the listener audience real quick. Let them know what WGC is all about.
All right, awesome. So again, just want to shout out you all, Maxine. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. So Nicholas Wright, Wright Group Counseling. I'm a licensed professional counselor providing virtual counseling for anyone 18 and older. We accept Anthem, Aetna, United, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Cigna, TRICARE, and we want to help. And we're pretty good at it. And
Yes, indeed.
so glad to be here today and help. You guys have some really interesting topics. I was listening to the show.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
really
man.
enjoying that.
I appreciate you listening, man. Definitely, share that link too, Nick. We live and in effect right about now to your page and all that good stuff. But man, so Nick, so where we are at the end, last quarter of 2024. This was that's right. This was a big election year, right? And just in general, everything that this millennium has brought us, right? But now that's compounded by a very polarizing election time, and we're going into another year, right, of feeling a lot of uncertainty, and I like to think at the same time, a lot of optimism on what could be and what could happen, right? If you're a glass half full kind of person.
Yeah.
But just right now. Because I know you have some of the great things, and again, people can follow you online. You always give a lot of great tidbits on a daily basis. But we wanted to bring you on, man, just for you to kind of just set the atmosphere, set the tone, right? November 2024. Like what is the type of like mental calisthenics do we need to be having right now when we hear and see all that's happening around us?
Yeah, no. All right. So the framework is interesting. So I want to kind of introduce this idea of selective attention. And so selective attention, a lot of you all have heard of it, right? And I know you hear me talking to you, and sometimes we just daydream because we're in our own world, right? Selective attention is our body's ability to unconsciously notice things that align with our values. So selective attention, there's 4 types of selective attention. There's auditory, there's visual, there's compound. And I mean, I could go down the rabbit hole, but let's just focus on visual and auditory.
Okay.
And so to break it down, if you're driving a silver Toyota Camry, what happens when you're driving through traffic? You notice other silver Toyota Camrys. If you switch cars and now you're in the white Kia, and you're driving, you start to notice other white Kias. So essentially that's selective attention. It's our mind's ability to unconsciously filter out information while simultaneously noticing things that align with our values. And so the cool part about selective attention is if we can kind of tune it and pay attention to what we're digesting, we can get our unconscious to align with what we want and our desires. And so with this election year and all these different political discussions, it can be helpful to kind of take a step back and tune your selective attention. So that way it works on your behalf.
Cool.
So
like that.
So you got to tell me how to do that though, good brother. Does that mean I need to turn social media off? Does that mean that I need to go ahead and cut certain people out my circle? Break it down for me a little bit.
Yeah. So with that selective attention, there's you can do mindfulness practices. So just practice focusing on your breathing for 1 to 2 minutes if you feel overwhelmed, and just being intentional about noticing how you're feeling and your sensations. And so there's a lot of different strategies that can work for that. But notice what you're taking on. So I encourage people to find credible news sources. Check some of those sources. Your show is a great platform, but then there's a lot of fake information. There's a lot of TikTok. I wouldn't have TikTok as your first source for news. Instagram shouldn't be your first source for news. And so I encourage people to kind of go and do some of the research themselves, and don't just listen to information that is emotionally driven, but look for news that's more solution focused.
Right.
That comes with ideas on how we can fix this in a positive way. And if the news is too much, especially because of the political climate, right? Because that's what we're kind of talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Find some feel good stories during the holiday season.
Yeah.
Find somebody doing a can drive, like something that lifts your spirit in that way. And then you will start to engage, and it won't be so debilitating. It won't break you down as much.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody likes doom and gloom during the holiday season.
Can I ask you a question?
That's big fact.
Absolutely.
Is it ever a time where you can tell yourself it's time for me to man up? Like, I'm not going to let my emotional roller coaster dictate my life. I'm not going to accept if I'm boo-hooing, and I want that to be the way I feel. But if other people are boo-hooing around me and I'm going to say, I'm going to remove them from my life because they're bringing me down, why can't we look in the mirror and say, regardless of who it is, somebody else or myself, I need to take this toxic behavior and put it on the shelf? Is that a wrong way to look at it?
Razor, I didn't give you my notes, but I feel like you just, I don't know, you ahead. So no, that's definitely
I'm your boy. I'm your boy.
That's definitely tip number 2, which is prioritizing conversations. And so there's a space in the time for processing, but there's also a space in the time to say, hey, it's time to get back on defense, right? We don't have time to go through this emotional journey. And so prioritizing conversations. So in social settings, you can use selective attention to engage with positive interactions and avoid dwelling on the divisive topics. And so as it relates to election, you can focus on discussions that emphasize those shared values or solutions rather than those heated debates, right? During the holiday season, you can redirect your attention to conversations about shared memories. Let's talk about plans or neutral topics if discussing certain things becomes triggering. And so, yes, there's absolutely a space in the time to just say, hey, I'm not here for that. We're here to create good memories. We're here to have a good time and eat good, and then I'm out.
Isn't that good to tell yourself that too, though? When you're the problem?
When you're the problem.
Yeah, when you're the problem.
Absolutely. You have to be self-analytical. I mean, you have to check yourself sometimes. I think it's also helpful to have an accountability partner, right? And so that concentration on self-care. And so if you know that you are the fuse that seems to set it off at the party, I would hope someone would kind of self-reflect and pull themselves away. Because we all know that one person. I mean, I don't know if we need to say it, but some people don't need to drink and have these heavy topics.
Yeah.
And it's also important not to have just yes men too. It's kind of like how we were saying earlier about at different times, like we all need to be checked at certain times, and you got to have people around you that you respect enough to allow to check you when you need checking. But look, Nick, I love my brother Razor, and I think you know him as well as I know him.
And he'll check me too. He'll call me. He'll call. Hey, I need to talk to you for a second.
But as far as this conversation though, what it reminds me of is that because I see Razor do this in a lot of our interviews and our discussions, which is Razor is already thinking about the end goal, kind of like how you just said, Nick, how like you asked if he had your notes because he was ahead of you. So what I notice sometimes when it looked like that we're going back and forth is really that Razor is like, no, we just need to do this. But sometimes what I'm saying is, but we can't do that until we do this first. Right. And but I get you, we're gonna get there, but we ain't gonna get there unless we do this first. And that's what I'm kind of hearing you saying, Nick, is that we do need to check ourselves, but it hasn't worked yet to just be like, I'm just going to stop when I need to stop. We got to prep ourselves. And like that whole oxygen to the brain, like that deep breathing, like that stuff that relaxes you to get you in the mindset, right, Nick?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So mindfulness is a great technique for that. I love mindfulness, or even the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Just ground yourself, or even just having a phrase.
That was cool. Yeah, that was cool.
Just a smooth little phrase like, "Today's gonna be a good day," right? No pun intended, right? But just telling yourself that. So when things get hectic at the family function, I mean, let's be clear. Somebody, it's Black Republicans.
Yeah.
And so if you know Stanley Earl is gonna come on that mess.
Yeah.
It's time to shift the dialogue at the function.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna, today's gonna be a good day. I'm not about to engage with him today. And just ground yourself in that way.
All right, we are talking to Nick Wright from Wright Group Counseling. So Nick, so you mentioned the family. How does that differ, if at all, when it comes to our workplace? Because I talk to a lot of people who were just dreading going to work. I even had people who said certain people on their job talking with a different bravado now because of the election results.
Yeah.
Like, so when you in those spaces to where maybe it's more of a controlled environment, you're more of a captive audience, and it's not maybe like where your house or your family's house where you can move and avoid people. Same techniques, or like how does it differ in the workplace?
Nah, man, you got to punch them in the mouth if they talk loud.
You must not work for HR.
Yeah, he worked for the complaint department.
Nah, man, just remember you can be right in the unemployment line.
Yeah.
And so, come on, we got to get our priorities tight.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes you got to leave that alone. You can't engage in every discussion. I think do your job to the best of your ability. Save your money. Be prepared for a rainy day.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we can only control what we can control, and what we can't. I encourage people to take their breaks. You know who takes their breaks better than anyone at a job, or knows the break policy better than anybody at a job? Besides HR, is somebody that smokes. A smoker gonna say, hey, I get 15 minutes before lunch, I get 15 minutes after lunch, and I can't combine it with the beginning of the day, I can't combine it with a lunch break, and I can't combine it with the beginning of the work day.
You ain't never.
Can I ask both of y'all a question?
We need to take our breaks.
I need to ask both of y'all a question. Black man to black man to black man.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
And I only say that like it can go for anybody, but Nick, is it okay, Charles, is it okay if everything that we're talking about being in a good headspace doesn't apply to everybody? Let's say, for instance, I'm like a spearhead person. Like Charles said, I'm like, all right, we going to the goal, whatever we got to run over to get there. I'm not looking at the middle ground, but I have people around me that look at the middle ground. So I don't think it's fair to judge the people who are like, I'm not as in touch with my feelings as other people are, right? But I get chastised and looked at differently, but I know my role. I'm like I'm that cousin that you like, oh, he with that mess, but if there's a problem, I'm the one you're gonna call 9 out of 10 times, right? So I know I'm a spearhead. That's just who I am. So when people start talking about what they need to do to get themselves in a good headspace, I'm not against it. I'm just saying I might not be there as often as everybody else. I look at what has to be done, by hook or by crook, tired, whatever, and that's my job. But I don't think that I should be looked at differently because I'm not Wusan. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So is that okay?
Can I respond to that first, Nick?
Yeah, shoot your shot. Let's go.
So with me, I totally feel you, and I feel like that it's just a level of maturity to me, and I think we have to discern as adults, like what's worth our time, who's worth our time. Honestly, of course, if it's family, friends, stuff like that, it's like you feel like I need to be pouring myself into this person, hoping that's going to be reciprocated. But it's like, to me, it's about a level of maturity to discern that, because we should be able to learn from each other. It's like I like how you set that up with the point of what I made about some folks like kind of look at like the end result, and some folks look at the preparation. Like you need both, and a lot of times the emotional piece is more in the preparation. Right. And if you scared to tap into your emotions, then like you're not going to take the time to like sit still, collect your thoughts, take a deep breath in, because you just got to go. Like you just so used to just running.
It's hard to tap into what ain't really there though.
Yeah. But we need both.
I mean, even this discussion right here kind of speaks to that, right? Like this is prep work. it doesn't have to be a formal setting. You know, before there was therapy, before there were a lot of things, it was just love. And so just having that compassion and some prep work. And so to the point, if someone is kind of acting funny on your job, this discussion right now, I'm about to give you the tip. I want you to start keeping a little journal, keeping a small little log. Might say November 17th, 126, such and such called me into their office. November 31st or November 20th, they said we had a meeting, but then they rescheduled the meeting and they said they wanted to talk to me one-on-one. No, I don't know, December 2nd, they said they didn't want to approve my PTO, but I have a lot of PTO. So just start keeping a journal, keeping a log, because right now you still got rights. And I've done enough FMLA paperwork. I've seen a lot of people come up because they are experiencing discrimination or they are experiencing some sort of pushback because they might have blew a whistle or, you know, maybe someone was puffing their chest out a little too much. And this person isn't really a loud talker. They're not here to argue. They just want to do their work and go home, but they're being ostracized because of their political views. Even though they haven't done anything, they haven't expressed their political views, they're just minding their business, but there's a negative connotation in the space. And so you do still have rights. I mean, we have EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Agency. Right. So there's places out here that advocate for individuals who are being marginalized. And we blessed to have that. But yeah, if you start noticing things like that, just take a log, fill it out, because there are some things that they can do to kind of combat that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, man. We are joined by none other than our dear brother, Mr. Nicholas Wright of Wright Group Counseling. And Nick, let us take a quick break, man, and we're gonna come back to it to see what other points you got for us. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
All right. Stay tuned, y'all. And tell a friend, share it worldwide. IMHO Talk Show. Good info. Be right back, y'all.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charles Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. I would say, and I would argue, especially black men are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Sir Charles.
Razor.
And we still are on air right about now with none other than good brother Nick Wright from Wright Group Counseling. And Nick, I don't know if you could hear the music online, but we were playing Whiskey by Money Yo. Now, our question is recreational usage of such substances one way to cope therapeutically?
So I didn't hear the song Whiskey. I saw a commercial. So
it was called Whiskey, so you can just imagine.
All right, it's a little alcohol. So
tap back in before you are a counselor.
So a little all right, ethanol. All right. I think you want to watch out for that tolerance. All right, you don't want to become dependent on it. And if you know it's going to lead to, wild debates, then I think we should probably shy away from it during the holidays and maybe wait till later. But I mean, people are going to do what they're going to do. I think the thing is just being responsible within moderation. It's okay to have that accountability partner. One of the biggest things right now is that we're in daylight savings time, and so it's dark at 5:30, 6:30. I'm ready to put on my pajamas, right? Like many others. And so we have to be intentional about avoiding that, because I mean, can we do it? Sure. We do it in November. We do it in December. Then come January, you calling me because your sleep is off, right? Because you got what people call cabin fever, right? You going to bed at 7:30, waking up at 4:30, trying to lay back down for a couple of hours, and now your sleep is just all jacked because your circadian rhythm is thrown off. You know, a lot of people wake up to the sun and go to sleep by the sun, but in the winter months, it can be a little challenging. And so I encourage you to continue to engage, and people need to be social and hang out and try to, you know, stay up to at least 8:30. You know, if you operating on a traditional schedule.
Yeah, I like how Nick be just so professional with them answers. You know, because I was kind of joking a little bit. You know, like we know alcohol ain't the solution, but you know, I mean, but there's only a couple of industries that survive every pandemic.
That's right.
And that's one of the industries. You know, like for better or for worse. But Nick, you know, it's interesting that I hear you saying accountability partner. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick though, alcohol. Interesting fact. Can you guess what two drugs can kill you from withdrawal?
Women can kill you without withdrawal. Oh, no.
You ain't playing.
It's a thin line between love and hate.
Yeah, women.
Bust the windows out your car.
Yes, indeed.
But no, alcohol and benzos. Alcohol and benzos. Those are the only two drugs that can kill you from withdrawal.
Wow.
And so that's why they kind of stayed open during COVID. You know,
Nick, let's switch gears.
But hold on,
Okay.
I didn't get my thing. Is you said accountability partner. What's interesting about that, Mr. Nick, is that because we're talking about a therapeutic, right? Like a mental health accountability partner. But you know how like drug addiction has you know how it was predominantly criminalized, but in recent past we've been treating it more like a sickness and more like a disease, so that we don't criminalize people who actually have a disease, right? You know, which is addiction,
opioids,
and they have accountability partners as well. And I know there's other names and stuff for it. So I just found that connection very, very interesting. I wanted to see if you wanted to elaborate on that at all, on how like our mental health, right? Like our mental well-being needs an accountability partner, somebody to help us stay accountable. Just like when someone may have like a chemical dependency, which of course affects you mentally, they also need an accountability partner. So I just kind of saw that intersection. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, peer recovery support specialist. I think one of the biggest things is that you are the professional in your own life. And so I know a lot about human behavior, but I don't know. I didn't walk in your shoes, so I don't know exactly what you went through. I don't know the level of pain that you experienced. And maybe you have someone in your corner that does, or someone that you listen to, someone that has that you respect their opinion.
Yeah.
If they say, hey, I think you had one too many drinks, you'll listen to them. You know, if I tell you had one too many drinks, you might be like, I don't know this guy, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it does help to have that accountability partner, but also in life. No, you're absolutely right. And so someone that can kind of say, hey, maybe we should switch it up, or maybe we should have a different approach. You know, I was being silly when I was saying like, hey, someone says something, right? You know, the physical violence is never really it. Like, I think the pen is mightier than the sword. I think that our mind is even stronger in many regards. And so I would encourage you to maintain your peace. One thing for sure, two things for certain. Stress can kill you.
Yeah.
Stress can kill you. Like, and so it's important that we enjoy the journey.
Yes.
It's very important we enjoy the journey. No matter what happens, what it looks like, you know, again, change that story, change the discussion. If things get crazy, I encourage you to just kind of talk about like community events, right? Instead of looking at it from the what's going on a bigger level, what are we doing in the grassroots community, right? What programs are going on that we can help? What programs are going on that we can, you know, encourage people to attend, whether it's a college fair or 100 Black men giving out. I want to say they gave out, I don't know the numbers exactly, but I know they gave out a lot of scholarship money this past year. And so, and even the media collective, you all have, like, there's a lot of local stuff that we have going on that let's shed light on that. So let's not just get lost in all the negative, divisive discussions about oh, this candidate didn't do this or this candidate didn't do that. But what about the hometown heroes?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotta
No,
go ahead,
I'm
Charles.
sorry.
No, go ahead,
One
go
other
ahead.
point you made me think about that though, like when it comes to your mental accountability partner, is it important for that person to be similar or have like experiences?
I mean, it's just someone that has influence and value in your life.
Okay.
And so even if someone doesn't have an accountability partner, if I know that grandma has more influence and value in someone's life, I'm gonna try to tap grandma in so she can be the person to engage in the intervention. Because, you know, Stanley Earl might yell at all of us. He don't really care. But if grandma says, hey, don't not in my house,
Yeah.
you need to tone it down. She's got the influence, she's got the leverage. She's spoken, you know, the matriarch has spoken, so people gonna listen. And so I encourage you to know what that looks like and who that person is.
Let me ask y'all this then. All right. Let's go ahead and go off the diving board here for a second, Charles. You gotta go with it. Yeah. All right. We talking about the white male being the problem with the elections. What about these youngins out here? Like a lot of my generation are scared of the younger black man right now. Like these are the ones doing the shootings around here. These are the ones robbing the cars. These are the ones, you know, beating up girls, all this crazy stuff, right? So in your professional opinion, how do you, people in my age group and older, deal with the younger generation that just does not seem to listen to them? They weren't able to talk to them when they were younger because they were being protected a certain way. And now that they've gotten out of control and like kind of come together in their nonsense, how would you recommend we deal with that? So we're not talking about the conversation at the family cookout. We talking about everyday living with these young kids out here running them up. How we deal with that?
I mean, I think it goes back to this old proverb, you know, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so I think you got to continue to show up in some of these spaces. And it's not just a mental health therapy thing. Like there's systemic issues in place, right?
Big fact.
People don't just rob. I mean, some people do just because they're bored. But I mean, there's another systemic issue, right? Boredom. But, you know, circumstances create criminals. And so I feel like a lot of times if they're robbing people, it's for money, or maybe it could be just over girls or something, you know, immature. So I think we got to continue to infiltrate some of these spaces at a grassroots level and have some of these tough discussions. I know you also do the food industry. And so we got to get these 15-year-olds, these 14-year-olds, give them a job. If you want some money, like help them out. I know we got to remember we were young once, and what did that look like? And so luckily for many of peers and friends, there were jobs available for people who were under the age of 16. Maybe you could pick weeds, or I don't know, you could work at a coffee shop or work at the grocery store. But I mean, you look at the grocery store, it only takes one cashier to run 6 to 12 robots, right? And so that's less jobs. Or, you know, get them a job, McDonald's, different things like that. But I mean, it is a challenge. It's not going to be easy, but I'm saying it's not impossible.
But you're assuming that we find the ones that want to work, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like video games is very popular. Social media is very popular. Gangs is very popular. Being out here, sweating, working, getting dirty, looking like you less than, that ain't exactly popular for them right now. They don't see the end goal, in my humble opinion. They don't see the end goal, right? So then anything that makes me look less than, I'm not willing to do it. You know, they'd rather be out here broke, hanging around, scrambling, than to go find employment and work somewhere and do different things that maybe our generation did. That's just my humble opinion from what I see.
Yeah, I mean, we all need a win, though, right? So it's a challenge until you get that win under your belt. And so sometimes you just got to keep showing up for these individuals. I think a lot of times it's like we cannot give up. Now, you're going to have some people who just don't make it.
Yeah, there's exceptions. There's always exceptions.
But I think we have to continue to try to reach them. And I want to challenge us, right? Older generation. you know, you got to speak for you. I'm not older yet. You know, I'm just kidding. But
You
no,
ain't got no
myself.
hair, Nick, Nick, you ain't got no hair on your head.
Yeah, I got grays. My daughter's.
I see a bald head there, Nick.
Yeah,
You
they
got
count
some
my
age
gray.
on you.
It's better to ride the convertible with the top down. You know what I mean? But listen, I think we also have to check ourselves, though.
Yeah. How so?
Our patience, our tolerance.
True.
We got ours. I got my high school diploma. I got mine when it was free.
Yeah.
I can't promise the high school diploma is going to be free in the next few years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so easy to write people off.
Yeah.
But I think we got to check ourselves and say, all right, I'm going to give him a second, a third, a fourth chance. Or I'm going to pick him up and take him his car down again. You know, like sometimes we just got to give people chances. And I think sometimes we have to check our patience and our threshold for tolerance.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe we're not the best person for him.
We know.
Yeah, mine terrible.
We know. And you know, while there's always exceptions. And when there's always exceptions too, majority of the time, my life experiences showed me though.
Yeah.
Is that it's still a matter of who is the person that's supposed to be the leader, who's in charge, whether it's of the household or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's some disconnect there.
Yeah.
But then we tend to just say blame, oh, it's the youth, it's this generation.
Yeah.
It's like, but they need something, like we said, to keep them accountable.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna be accountable to somebody who doesn't earn their respect.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, so we could talk, you know, like, or we can point fingers all, you know, like all day, but it's like I said, it's always exceptions.
Yeah.
But I still see the majority of the time, like when there's something off, you can point back to where it went, you know, where we're wrong, and it wasn't rectified for whatever reason. But Nick, I want to make sure that you get to other points you wanted to share, but I don't know if it's in your plan, but wanted to talk about even right now when it comes to the male and female helpmate that we need to be, right, and vice versa, because right now, because you have a lot of our sisters, you know, feeling a type of way about it being a Black woman who was rejected, and then you have women as a whole who see that there's been twice now that a white man who preaches white supremacy and ridding women of their rights, they see it as a rejection to women in general, right? So so I know that you've been giving great pieces, you know, sort of across the board, but I'm curious if you have anything specifically when it comes to us supporting our partners or supporting our friend, supporting our coworker, whatever it may be.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of those realities where you can ask someone what they need. You know, let them be the professional of their life. And so you can ask them if there's anything they can do, ask them what they need instead of telling them what they need, you know, or giving, you know, tips and suggestions, or even just saying, hey, like, it's okay to take a break, right? We talked about it earlier. You don't have to smoke to take your break. Like, take your break. There's no point in burning out on this job. There's no point in burning out, going over and above for if someone doesn't appreciate it. Like, take a break, take a moment, unapologetically, right? If you want to be on your phone, if you want to go on YouTube, if you want to go for a walk and whatever, if you need to just go in the car and yell and have a primal scream and get those high anxiety beta waves out, do that. But just check with someone and see if there's anything you can do for them. And then also it can be helpful to have community during this sort of situation. And so, you know, Black women checking on other Black women, women checking on other women, men being allies and supporters of that. Hey, is there anything I can do? Oh, you guys are going to get together. I can donate a fruit tray, whatever it may be. And so just being encouraging and just support. This was a tough election, but I also kind of look at it like maybe it wasn't our time, and it'll give something for the next generation to look forward to. It'll be their chance to see the first Black African-American woman president. You know, that'll be their fight. That'll be the thing that they get to experience. And, you know, we'll see it later in life. But
hey, man, touch on that point, though, Nick. Touch on that point, because that's something that crosses my mind a lot. Like, generation after generation. Like, how do we keep up that fight? Generation after generation, like, you see your leaders killed, you see your leaders vilified, you see progress that you make get pushed backwards, like mentally, right? Like how do you keep the dog in the fight?
I think we got to get rid of these perfectionist tendencies.
Okay.
And so I think, I think they're human. And so I think humans make mistakes. And ideally, we'll see the progress. I think talk is the talk, but we need to see, like they used to say, proof is in the pudding, right? Like we need to see some, what's really going to happen. Are there actual changes that are going to occur? And I think it's important that we can focus on the grassroots level, and we can also just stay alert. I'm not the biggest political activist. I must admit, there's a lot more people who are a lot more informed. But I think that for those that came before me, I try to pay attention. I try to know what's going on. I try to know my local officials. I try to see, what rules or different things are going to come into place. How can I fight back? How can I vote? How can I encourage others? And so
I like it.
Is survival ever an option?
You said the Bible or survival?
No, survival.
Because those are both two good ones. Is survival ever an option? Elaborate. What do you mean by that?
So like there are people who, like Joel said, there are people that they're just not built to fight. Not just physically. Like some people are just not built to fight. And is it okay to accept when you see somebody that's like, look, I'm just gonna go along with the status quo and survive, and them not be vilified? I know a few people who are that way. Like you can say, man, Trump is bad, and they'll say Trump is bad, and then somebody will come along and say, vote for somebody else, and they'll be right along with that person. Like they don't want no drama. They just absolutely don't want. They just want to exist. Is it okay, regardless of what my color, nationality, or gender is, for me to not want to fight and just go along to get along?
Is it okay? I think there's a time and a place for everything. I don't necessarily think that. I think you're going to essentially, by not saying anything, sometimes you're saying something. And so depending on what the topic is, right? If we're talking about women's rights, I think you should, advocate for them.
No, what if I'm a woman? What if I'm a woman and I don't believe in abortion? I'm a Christian, but I do not want somebody yelling in my face telling me that I'm right or wrong. I don't want somebody telling me how to deal with my body. I just don't want no trouble. So let's not say the advocate. Let's say the actual person that it affects.
Okay.
I know I can get pregnant because I'm out here sleeping around, whatever that is, right? Yeah. Let's say they just don't want the drama. So they just go along. If it's outlawed, it's outlawed. If it's pro-choice, it's pro-choice. I mean, whatever it is, they just go along. I think it's okay to not vilify somebody just because you align them with the struggle. I think we as Black people have went through that a lot. Like something goes down, Black people are supposed to understand what everybody's going through. When the alphabet community was going through their stuff, they ran right. You gonna get us, man. No, that's what I'm saying. No. I'm saying like CIA is alphabet too, so you don't know who I'm talking about. But Black people are always asked to get in everybody else's fight, right? So if I decide that I don't want to, and y'all, I'm not saying this is right, I'm just saying in general, if I decide that I don't want to have something to do with the Palestine fight, just because they're people of color, do I have a right to not say something? If I'm a woman and I don't want to be arguing with people about the decisions that Trump made,
absolutely.
But those people get vilified. People that don't want to fight.
I don't think they do. I think everyone doesn't have to fight certain things. And
so you're saying Black men didn't get chastised because some of them did not want to vote for Kamala?
I mean, some people villainize stuff. People might villainize any other color starburst unless it's pink. So I mean, there's always going to be opinions, and so if it's what we're given the power to, and so I think it's okay to take a step back, and maybe the approach in which they're being spoken to isn't the best approach. Okay. And so maybe that person isn't the messenger to get the message across, or maybe that person just isn't in a space where they can handle the sort of discussion.
Right.
But I think you can still support people that are aligned with maybe your ideals or values, or maybe that's not your fight. But I don't think that they're a bad person necessarily. I just think that's what I'm saying. They are in that space. So I guess I kind of think of it as You know, every fight isn't for Nick. And so, like, if I see, all right, sometimes I see these real politically driven discussions on said topics. And I know that I mentally cannot do that work because it causes me to become a hovering parent, or it causes me to treat my family different, or it emotionally sticks with me, right? Like, people who do those call to actions and raise money for certain things, like, they see some traumatic stuff, and that's not for me. Some people, childhood obesity, that fight isn't for Nick. That's not my fight. It's a real issue. It's a real problem. There's a lot of people who are working towards it. But the thing is, I'm not discrediting them. I'm not condemning them for picking that fight. Me, I'd rather do anti-violence, right? I'd rather do trying to get some of the guns off of the street, teens killing teens. Now that's a fight I can get behind. That's a fight where I can put some energy behind. But childhood obesity, is it important? Very much so.
Right.
Is that my call? It's not. That's just not who I am. But I'll give, I'll donate, and I'll do something like that. But that's just not my fight. So I don't think
that was my point, Charles.
Yeah, and I'm glad you answered it that way, because we hold ourselves back as a people too much for doing that. Pointing out what somebody else isn't doing or is doing. Yeah, versus like what the good that's being done, or what else we could be doing. Yeah. So Nick, we are up against the hour, man, but just want to make sure like that you touch on, you give any other key points that you have for us today.
Yes, enjoy the journey. Life is stressful. And so it's important that you get a small scoop of ice cream if you had a rough day. Appreciate yourself. Love each other. Stay away from some of the negative rhetoric that is divisive and pulls people apart. Ignore some of those perfectionistic tendencies. Focus on gratitude. Focus on some community-driven initiatives, and just keep loving each other, y'all. We got this.
Nick,
thank you all for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you,
man. And what I love about it is that what I hear you saying is that it's the little things. Sometimes like we look at the big picture. Sometimes we forget that like everything is a building block, man. It's like you just take it step by step, and we gonna get there.
Amen to that.
The Razor.
Hey, that was a good conversation again. Thank you,
Nicholas
brother.
Wright with Wright Counseling. Always appreciate you, my man. Tell the folks how to reach you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, WGC Today. You can go on the internet, WGCtoday.com. Schedule an appointment, and let's work together. We'll figure it out.
All right, Nick. Be blessed, my man.
All right, you too. Peace.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed, so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written in the magazine or tuning into In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
For 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that, and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things, still the way that black people and I would say, and I would argue especially black men are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show, Sir Charles.
Razor.
We back like we never left.
Yeah.
For this last hour of today's show. And, after we talk Razor about, current headlines, the election season, talked about how to cope with it, how to deal with it, how to treat ourselves and each other. What better way than for today's last guest to be somebody who is a man of the community and somebody that's putting in work, so that we realize that no matter what, we gotta keep working, probably gotta work harder than ever. And we need to work together better than ever, I must say as well. So, man, I'm happy and excited to have with us Jamar Pierre-Louis of Dream Clothing, my entrepreneur brother, also one of the leaders of the upcoming Sneaker Ball, as well as the annual toy drive. So, man, Jamar, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, bro.
Yes, indeed, man. Glad to have you, bro, because I'm definitely loving all the great work you did, man. But I think one of your aliases is Prospect P, right?
Yeah.
One of your aliases, yeah. So for those that may not be familiar with the story, man, because you know how it goes sometimes. Sometimes we just see the success, we don't see the struggle. So tell us that inspiration, man, that journey. What inspired you to do this good work that you're doing, to start Dream Clothing and have these activities for the community?
Yeah, to be honest, man, for as long as I've known, I've been an entrepreneur, and I really started it with the idea of just being able to showcase my creativity, and be able to have a platform to be able to give back and, show people that come from where I come from and look like me that, there are people doing good things, and just to, be an inspiration to the people that come after me. So that was kind of the thing behind that, and just starting, a new stream of revenue. I was in school. I was a college student at the time, just looking for new avenues of ways to make money. So
yeah, that's what's up, man. So then was the clothing line first, or were you doing
so the clothing line was first. I was already doing events, and I've been throwing parties since I was probably 16. Me and a couple of my boys, we had formed our own group, and we were throwing parties together. So I already kind of had a following behind that, and then I just started the clothing line and built off of the platform that I was already building previously to that. So
that's what's up. That's what's up, man. Look, take us into the clothing line, Dream Clothing, man, because we see it everywhere. We see it all around. Like, what is that about? Like, why the name? And what's that inspiration behind that branding?
Man, Dream is an acronym. It stands for Dreams Reinvented Everything Around Me. So it's all about taking your dreams to the next level, and just believing in yourself. And I just started. I thought the name Dream was kind of rather basic, so that's why I came up with the acronym. But I feel like it's easier, it's easily relatable. Like, we all got dreams and aspirations.
That's what's up. I'm loving it, man. Yeah, and tell them how they can get that good merchandise. I'm gonna make sure we don't forget that.
So I do have just for the professional aesthetic, I do have a website. It's www.dream-apparel.com, but I do a lot of my transactions hand to hand, honestly. I'll meet up with people, I'll bring it to you, I'll ship it to you. I do a lot of sales on social media and things like that. So you can always hit me up on Instagram. It's @_Dream Clothing.
That's what's up. We're gonna put that in the thread too, Razor.
Yeah. Got a question for you real quick.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, having a clothing line, seeing your clothes on, people in your city, right? What is the overarching goal in, say, 5 years? What would you like just strictly for Dream?
So now I'm kind of at a crossroads of trying to figure out what I want to do with it, because I've been doing the community, the philanthropic projects for so long. I'm kind of transitioning to figure out exactly what I want to do. I always want to have merch, and I always want to be my own walking billboard to be able to promote myself and the things that I'm doing. Okay. But I'm getting more so into the entertainment and the community outreach. So kind of branching off into that. And that's the goal that I see for myself. I'm also working to try to get into some real estate and doing things like that. And, I feel like the name is already there. The name Dream is catchy, so I still want to just continue to build on that.
Yeah. Umbrella, everything underneath it.
Yeah.
Now, man, being from Charlottesville, being a young Black man, college educated, successful businessman already, and successful, promoter, entrepreneur, and whatnot. Tell me why. What makes it so close to your heart, though, to care about the community? Because you could be in a bigger city, you could your brand could be, bigger, but for you to keep this connection to Charlottesville and to be community oriented, why is that so important? Where does that come from?
And I just feel like, the people have supported me so much, and I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for them. So I just feel like I owe it to them to come back here and to really make a difference. Like I was in Charlotte for maybe 6 years, and like a few years ago, I just had to sit down and ask myself, like, what's next and what do I want to do? And I just felt like moving back here would make the biggest impact because I was traveling, coming back and forth so much. I was like, you know what? I think it's just time to, go home and give back and, just try to take some of the people with me that I came up with. So
that's what's up. Yeah. And in saying that, man, the people you came up with and like the businesses that we see, man, like y'all are definitely present. And I can't help but to think you made the right choice, man. Like that's an inspiration, Razor. It's an inspiration, like to see these young brothers working together, and seeing their own brands seeing the ownership, man. That has to be an inspiration of the folks, like you said, that come from the same place, came up just like you did.
Yeah, man. And just seeing that, like where I came from and how far I've came, like that's really all the motivation I need. So
all right, now let's shift gears here for a second. What's it like to have an entrepreneur family, to be part of one?
It's cool, man, to be able to like build a legacy because I've seen like how far my family is coming, like how hard we work to get to where we are. So it's a humbling experience.
Is it ever any, even though you support one another, is it ever any like push to like, man, look, oh man, brother did XYZ, I got to get out here. Daddy done did such and such, I got to get out of here. Does that exist for y'all?
With me, it's just like I'm so in tune with myself and my own depth of awareness. Like I'm just trying to be better than I was yesterday. Like I'm not really competing with them. Like what they do, I just see it as motivation. To get harder to do what I do.
Are you the youngest?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Man, but that's deep though, man. Like that motivation is so important. And I think that's why it's, for those that, those who may not have like that sort of family nucleus, that's why it's so important for us, to work together, even as a community, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you're right, like that mode, especially in the social media realm, because sometimes you feel like you're on an island by yourself. Yeah, but if you got other people inspiring you and making moves, it should be healthy competition.
Yeah, but like social media, man, that's like a facade. That's a fantasy. That's not really a real world. You just get on there and people just post accolades all day, and I don't really do what I do because of accolades. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose.
Absolutely. That's what it's about, man. Some people get lost in it. Yeah. Man, we are joined by none other than Dream Clothing's own Jamar Pierre-Louis. Jamar, man, so you like you said, a couple of annual things that you help spearhead. You got coming up once again. So first up, man, we less than a week away from the sneaker ball.
Yeah, man.
So folks who may not be familiar with it, tell them what the sneaker ball is about, when it is, how to get the tickets.
Yeah, so the Sneaker Ball, we're doing our 6th annual. It's pretty much like an event to give back. So we use the proceeds to donate scholarships to local kids in the community that are going to college. This is the 6th year. I'm teaming up with De La Roll, Prolific, Kicks Unlimited, Tonsil League, and Boo AG Visuals. So we do that each year, man, and we just try to give back to the kids as much as possible. So pretty much the idea of it is you just wear, guys wear tuxedos and suits and formal attire with sneakers, and women wear like ball gowns with sneakers. So it's kind of like a gala centric type of event.
It's dope. I've enjoyed myself, Razor. I must say that.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Have you ever thought about mentorship?
Yeah, so I actually have like a couple of kids that I mentor. So myself and Robert Gray, he's like one of the directors of Uhuru Foundation. We did scholarships for kids going to school, and we have a few scholars that we help mentor. So, I had mentors growing up, so just trying to give back.
Yes, indeed, man. So, and speaking of that sneaker ball too, though, is at the Bradbury there on the downtown mall.
Yep.
Do you now a lot of folks be intimidated by spaces that they haven't been to before, and like I said, I can vouch. It was a great diverse crowd and whatnot there last year. But have you ran into that? Have you ran into folks that be like the Bradbury? They let us up in the Bradbury?
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know what it is. They walk past it every day. I have no idea, like what goes on in there. But so the Bradbury is a restaurant. We also get the vault on the backside, so we rent out both spaces. And we do like the cocktail hour with the live band for the first half, for about the first hour and a half, and then we usually move over into the Bradbury, and that's where the DJ set up and the party goes on in there. So
that's what's up. But I'm gonna keep it 100 with you though. Like, was there any pushback at all of like when folks on the downtown mall, even the business owner was like, like seeing all these great Black organizations, but being like, what kind of clientele you gonna bring in here?
Nah, not really. You know, we've been doing it so long. I think they've had a long enough time to see like exactly what it is and what it stands for, and I think that they're in full support of it. So we haven't really had any pushback. You know, people they come out, they're on their best behavior. They're really just there to have a good time.
Yep. And trust me, like I know James, the owner, good folk. But I said that because because I know we still have that conversation, amongst us, like people don't feel comfortable down there and all that kind of stuff. So just letting them know that Jamar got your back. You come on down. You go buy them
we
tickets.
got good feedback. So we did it there last year, and everybody said they liked it. So we decided to go back there again because the first few years we kind of bounced around the different venues, just filling out some different places.
Absolutely. And those tickets, you can get them at Linktree / the Tonsil League.
Yep.
Okay.
Or you can hit me up on Instagram at _Dream Clothing. I can always send you the link.
That's what's up. Man. And then sort of close out the year, you also have the annual toy drive, man. So tell us the inspiration behind that.
Yeah, so the toy drive, man, Robert and I, we were speaking probably like early 2017. That was the year we did the first one, and we just wanted to do something to be able to give back to the kids and just use our platform to do something good in the community. So we came up with the idea to do a toy drive. We started them at Tonsler back in those days, and kind of just outgrew the space because, I mean, to be honest, this thing is growing to be much larger than I ever expected it to be.
That's what's up.
That's good stuff right there. So and so what's the routine with it? Is it like folks who they reach out to, where do they give the donations?
Yeah, so they can reach out to me. We've got an Amazon link registry that I've been sharing with a couple of folks. We also have a ton of different sponsors on board this year. We probably have 12 different organizations. Each of those organizations, they donate and they help raise funds. We also have a GoFundMe link, but the goal is to try to serve at least 200 kids each year. And we don't want them to feel like they're coming out and, they're taking the time out their day to just get, one thing. So we try to make sure that we raise enough funds to make sure they get a few things. We go out, we purchase bikes, electronics, toys, books, all type of things. Because although, kids, they want toys for Christmas, we try to make sure that it's educational as well. Like we want to enlighten them. So we buy books, things like that.
Yes, indeed. And that's and this is the 8th year, right? So the eighth annual toy drive, bring a toy and give joy, as it says. And so on that December 26th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., you have music by Reggie Watts at Boys and Girls Club and whatnot. Like, take us through that day real quick on what folks can expect December 22nd.
Yep. So, December 22nd from 3 to 5. So pretty much what you'll do is you'll come, you'll sign in. We just ask the families to try to get there a little ahead of time just to get everybody signed in. So we know the numbers of what we're working with, how many kids we're expecting. So we know how many toys and things like that they can get. There'll be music by Reggie Watts, some light refreshments, but it'll be at the Boys and Girls Club in the Teen Center area. You'll come through, sign up, you'll get your ticket. And put your name on the list, and then you'll come through the line. And usually what happens is if we still have stuff to give away at the end, we just let them, take whatever they like.
Good stuff, man. That's what's up. Man. Jamar, man, keep up the great work, bro. Like, what's next? So you got 2025. Like, you've accomplished so much in Charlottesville as well. Like, and I got to think that you have bigger dreams as well, man. Like, so where you try to take this thing?
So, I still work full time on top of like all the entrepreneurial things I do. I still have a full time job. So, I stay busy. What's next? Once I wrap this toy drive up, I'm definitely going to take a little vacation because it's much needed. So as hard as we work, we got to remember to treat ourselves as well. But I'm turning 30 next year. So
okay, all right.
I'm embarking on a new journey, starting a new chapter, man. Just trying to get a better sense of self-awareness for myself, man. And trying to work into getting into real estate, things like that, keeping my full-time job. And that's pretty much next, and continuing to build a brand and build a business. Got some more community outreach events coming up next year. We'll have the scholarships. We'll have a back to school drive, things like that.
Okay. That's what's up, man. And lastly, since we've been talking about it, because this is our first live show since the election and whatnot, like, you focus.
Yeah.
Still quite a young man compared to me and Razor.
Right.
Speak for yourself. I'm 31 next month.
Yeah. But man, like, to have those goals and that structure. I heard you say that, like, that you mentor and stuff like that, man. So, like, in this time that we're in with such uncertainty, like, right, with this election and stuff that's going on, man, like give us, just drop a gem on us real quick. Maybe something like that you share with
man, it's
like with
it's
your
funny.
mentors or
Yeah,
your
'cause-
mentor told you.
Yeah, so it's funny because I was sitting with my grandma last week and she was asking me, she was like, what you feel about the election and the new president? And I was like, you know what, grandma, at the end of the day, I still woke up a black man. I still had to go to work and there's still work to be done on the ground. So, the quote
That's
that
right.
we can't change the world unless we change ourselves just stands out to me because, we're not going to get anywhere until we learn how to do that and organize ourselves. So
That's right. Perfectly said. Look, Razor don't even have a response to that.
Hey,
So you
no.
said it right.
Actually, there comes a time when you see a young man doing good work. The best thing that you can do is stand there and smile at him. You know what I'm saying? So congrats. Proud of you. You know what I'm saying? Glad to have met you, and if there's anything that I can do to support, I'm going to do it, whether I'm doing it or not.
that's right. And yeah, I make sure I go check out my boy's food truck.
Yeah.
Best cheesesteaks in the city.
Tell him again, cuz.
Best cheesesteaks in the city.
Yes, Lord. He talking about order up. He said, before y'all say, who he talking about? He talking about me.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, Jamar, man, continue blessings, man, and let us know how we can continue to support.
All right, thank you, fellas.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jams from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
Well,
that's a wrap.
There goes another show. We got a few more minutes to talk a little cray.
Yeah. And did anybody comment anything on anybody's heart, you know what I'm saying, that you like for us to talk about? Like
great interviews is what I've been getting.
Okay.
But out of all the things we said we got to keep doing and keep moving in the face of opposition and all that good stuff, we still who we are. Like Jamar said, it couldn't say it any better. I woke up again. Still a black man.
Yeah.
We got to make it do what it do.
Feet got to hit the ground and work got to be done.
That's right. Yeah. But but we did have Mr. Nick Wright come to give us some good coping techniques as well.
Yeah.
Good ways to strategize, staying calm and at peace, and prepping ourselves for the work. And like I said, Jamar told us about the work. So speaking of the work, man.
Yeah.
So one of the things locally being talked about right now that's happening within the city limits and whatnot is like there's different ordinances. So one, it just popped in the mind is like we have schools that's looking to redistrict and stuff again. And next show we're actually going to have reps from the city school board on to talk about that. So y'all make sure you stay tuned and locked in. You don't want to miss that as well, because they are right now they are going through feedback. So go to their pages and look at how you can contribute to all that's going on with where our kids go to school and how they get there and all that good stuff. Right? It's important.
Yeah.
Redlining is a real thing.
Yeah.
But also you being a businessman as well.
Okay. Talk to
being in a small town. Have you let me preface it like this. Have you ran into codes or any kind of restrictions that affected your business? Like where you set up at?
Yeah.
Or the times you can set up, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Honestly, I know you're going with it, but I'm going to add this. The politics of the university. The politics of the university, the people, the gatekeepers of the university. Yes. Because I mean, what I have experienced is they want to help and bring on the smaller ethnic businesses to give them a shot. But if you grow too fast and somebody that doesn't look like you has a problem, then a problem is created. So I have watched that happen to not just myself, but other individuals as well. They, as long as you can stay small and quiet, you are able to maneuver around the city a lot better than if you start making noise. Now that isn't bad noise, but as long as somebody can take credit for you, you're allowed to survive. But if nobody takes credit for you and you did it and you did as Denver said, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, people gonna have a problem with you.
So it's the illusion of freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. The glass ceiling
sounds
is
political right there.
The glass ceiling is actually
gives you the illusion of feeling free.
Right.
When you're not gonna be free.
You're showing off a little too much. And that is the gatekeepers of the city.
Now, because I heard you say UVA, but I wasn't even thinking about that. But even when you just on city property, you're not on UVA property. Do you think they still have a hand in?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There are gatekeepers. There is. Y'all have heard me say this before. The birthplace of America is right here. You got like 4 or 5 presidents that set up shop here, right? So anything that America has created, be it in opposition or for, started here in this area. You know what I'm saying? Right down the street, Plymouth Rock, all that type of stuff, right? So the ideologies that got started have carried on and are a nucleus here, but they're so deep rooted that you can't just see them. Like when we talk about things of the South and things of the North, that's because a lot of them are surface level. But when you're talking about something that is rooted into a place, you can't see the roots of a tree. You know what I'm saying? And that's what a lot of things are here.
Yeah, the homogenics that were taught, and then folks who went to Thomas Jefferson's University went and started other universities.
Yeah.
And so you pretty much spread white supremacy.
Yeah.
And I've heard it say that's why they were so comfortable with coming back here.
This is home
on August 12th. Yeah, this is ground zero.
This is home, right? Yeah. So I have, last year I did a lot of things that were first, and caught a lot of attaboys. until I started getting asked, well, who took credit for you? Who brought you in? I brought myself in. No. I mean, like, who spoke for you? I spoke for myself.
Yeah.
So when'd you graduate?
Yeah, so you kind of getting me off. You getting me off track here. People trying to follow the conversation. But I'm gonna say something before we get back to business. Yeah. Don't let me forget the business ordinance. But that's a great point because we ran into that even here as a radio
a radio station.
Because a lot of people, a lot of people, may not realize. So our radio show started because we were part of the New Black Station, but a lot of our business trajectory, when it comes to like sort of our, I guess you could say, value, came after August 12th.
Yeah.
Because people wanted to unite, people wanted to show that there was, good representation, working together, folks working. So the media landscape was part of that, and that's what we took a part in. So a lot of support stuff, right? But then after that, COVID kind of got in the way, but then you do start to see how folks seem to be like, well, man, y'all actually good.
Yeah.
Like y'all actually sustainable business model.
Right.
Like this wasn't just something that was just appeasing you and just sufficing you for the moment.
This wasn't a hobby.
Yeah. Like, so now it's kind of like, oh, like now we got to deal with this.
Right. It's funny how that changes so fast.
Yeah. And like people's true colors get shown. My whole point to that, based on what you were saying, it's like you could think you have an ally.
Yeah.
You have an ally, but then when the ally sees that you're actually more powerful than just the little handouts that they tried to give you.
Right. And if they can monetize you the whole time, then it's all smiles and giggles. But if you become the way you can stand on your own 2 feet, you become black.
What Kanye say? Even if you in the Benz, you still a coupe. Hey. Hey.
So
but
that's here. That's
But one of the big ordinances going on right now, because a lot of business that I delve in here locally that's attached to it, and you may see it a certain way, especially when you set up at the pools and stuff with your business. Is like the noise ordinance. What's your thoughts on the noise ordinance?
I grew up with the speakers and boom boom, right?
We from the country.
Yeah,
I
grew up
but as far as the city, and you talk about development and growth, as much as folks seem to want this to develop and be this expensive metropolitan, when things that can help business are happening, you still see a lot of the pushback. Now, sometimes that has to do with who it is that's handling business. But as of right now, you have your downtown area, which is connected to residential neighborhoods. But if you're a city, regardless of how small, your downtown specifically, but definitely in your areas that are like heavily populated, you're going to have some noise. You're going to have parties. You're going to have people hanging out and all that.
But this isn't just because we got bricks and concrete doesn't make it a city.
Right. But you being a business owner, that's why I wanted your take on how you think they should handle that. Because part of it is that it's a small city, right? So you can't have but so many blocks and blocks of just like late night or you know what I mean, or even daytime festivals and stuff like that. You still have residential zones that will complain about that and about like the amplification of it and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's too restricting.
So I'm thinking you as a business, right? But you also live here. So
it's too restricting.
How do you think it should be balanced?
It's too restricting. If you say that you want growth and people are doing things that are going to grow their businesses, you have to be willing to at least give it a chance. Just because it inconveniences you and you have money, power, or ownership in some land doesn't mean that you should be able to make all the decisions for the city based off of your inconvenience. I think that's not fair. And to say you want thriving businesses at the same time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I am a person who I do like order, but I don't like restrictions on people that stifle people. You know what I'm saying? Like the businesses that can operate for 4 or 5 hours a day aren't our businesses. And if my people that I'm going to have a party are working during the daytime and the only time that they can blow off some steam is after hours, why can't I have that? You know what I'm saying? Why does that have to be restricted to your peace and quiet?
Because you have a lot of old retired money here.
Yeah.
And you're going to do what I say. Because I'm retired and I can go to the meetings in the middle of the day. And you can't. So.
Oh, you're going to get out. So I don't think that is fair. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, I do want, when I want peace and quiet, I want peace and quiet too. But at the same time, you got to understand that this.
You need to move to the county.
You need to move to the county. Move to West. Now, I ain't gonna say move to West now. I'm just saying move to the county, right? So, but at the same time, man, like you got to understand that like we all have a right to be here. And if my be here means that this is where I can thrive, let me. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's inconvenienced. Like you put rules in place, like we were talking about, that allow blue light districts or cameras all over the place in my neighborhood, right? But if I come too close to yours, you got a problem and you at the meeting. That's not fair. You know what I'm saying? Let's all be inconvenienced so that we can all live here.
That's deep.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a college town.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, man. I don't know, Razor. Good show.
Yeah, thank you.
Great show. I mean, what you think? What's on your minds? We send the people home, man. November, y'all don't overeat. We played our Black Friday documentary special for y'all last week.
That was good. I forgot all about that show.
Yeah,
that was good.
And we gotta so like we said, stay posted online. A lot of good things going on, y'all, as far as helping out. You know, weather's getting colder. We know we still have our unhoused population. We have folks that are hungry, and there's things going on where many ways to help out. And as we've been talking about with different things over the holidays, also to make sure that families are also happy. Not only the bellies are full, but helping families enjoy the holiday season, just like all of us would like to.
I got something, Charles.
Yes,
on the first Sunday of every month, on the talk show that I do called The Body at 8 a.m. on WVAI, we're going to start having Mr. Robinson, Edward Robinson, on there to talk about finances and different ways to operate your money and giving you sort of call to actions on how to benefit yourself. So, and I say that because I was thinking there are going to be a lot of you that overspend for Christmas for your kids, right? And then you're going to be suffering and looking for rent relief at the first part of the year. Have enough restrictions on your spending habits to give yourself a better tomorrow. And we're going to try to help you develop that system and process, because I do understand a lot of your value comes from seeing the smiles and happiness on your kids' face and the people around you during holiday time. But that does not mean that you have to sacrifice your mental state to try to create a fictitious euphoria that's only going to last about 13, 14 minutes. Don't make sense.
That is good info. And you reminded me too, because still so many times people say they didn't hear about something, didn't know about something. Look, we you try to centralize information as much as possible, but we have some great organizations that shares a lot. This is what's going on. So follow every good thing that you can, right? But I think about BP and Seville. I think about Discover Black Seville.
Yeah.
I think about Vinegar Hill magazine. And those are some entities that, of course, IMHO talk show, that tries to collect and disseminate this information. And of course, all of the producers, the creators of everything that's going on. Of course, you have those individuals, but when you look at trying to funnel it in so people can, at some point, we got to figure out where to get the info so we can say we didn't know.
The SIM project.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, civilinclusivemedia.org. Check it out. For sure.
Yeah,
I think we made Max proud today.
Yeah. And if we didn't, I don't want to hear about it. I'm just playing.
Now take a deep breath, like Nick said. But to close it out, Razor.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play one of your favorites. This kind of mood I'm in. Following.
I know it's a setup, y'all. Don't even follow.
This is real talk. Following this election, this song may be fit. See if you remember this one.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Yes, Lord.
We got to remind them, Razor, we will not.
Yeah, we will not.
This ain't no lie that I speak. All you youngins out here in the streets only want to shoot people who look like you. You can stay home. You too weak. Oh no, we will not go and repeat the mistakes of the past.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.